Welcome, everyone, to the first segment of Hear and Heal. I am Minister Connie Spearman, and I'm here today with my co host, Tiara Williams, and she is Miss Hollywood. So just welcome her.
Hey.
Today, we're going to talk about something very important. We're going to talk about anxiety, and we're going to talk about panic attack disorder, which I had both of them. So it's plaguing the world. Now, 10 years ago in 2010, there was only 40 million people that had it. Now it's over 300 million. And
Mm.
it is no gender in this. It's male or female, so no one is excluded from it. So we're going to discuss that today. Tiara, do you have anything to say about the subject that we're talking about today?
Yeah, I definitely dealt with anxiety this year. I live here in Los Angeles, so we were in the middle of a strike, a year-long strike. And
Yes.
so it caused a lot of anxiety in my life. I felt
Yes.
very nervous about the future and, about working again and what it would look like. But I had to really just lean on God I just had to really lean on
Right.
God through that
Right.
through that whole situation, and it ended up being very good for me. Like, it ended up making me a stronger Christian. It really elevated my walk, really, my spiritual walk.
Great, great. Well, let me tell you about my experience. My experience with first it was stress. My stress came in because I was 6 months pregnant. I lost my child at 6 months and I had to deliver the baby. But I had an 18-month-old son and he passed away within 90 days. Two
Mm,
things I heard that you should not talk to people that is grieving and going through. One thing I heard, don't question God when I was saying, Lord, why me? What's going on? I was a new Christian.
mhm,
And the other thing is that I was told to me was, what did you do to God to cause him to take your child?
mm,
That was when you're hurting and you're going through, that is that is like shooting someone when you
mm,
say things like that. So
mm,
that's how my stress came in. And the bad thing about it, when he passed away, he was in the bed with me. So
mm,
my stressors came at night when I went to bed. I used to hate to go to sleep at night because it constantly played that role of what happened to him. And
mm,
when I woke up that morning, he was deceased. So
mm,
therefore, it was very, very bad time for me, and no one didn't know what to say. I think that when someone's going through a time like that, you should say nothing. Just be there praying for that person. And
mhm,
so I was a new Christian, just newly walking with the Lord for maybe about 2 years before all these things happened to me. And it was devastating, and I
mhm,
did not know how to channel that. So I became afraid of God. And
mm.
yes, I became afraid of God, and therefore I did not know what to say. I wasn't supposed to question him. And someone said, what did you do for all this to come upon you? So my stress and my anxiety came from being afraid of God as a new Christian.
What does that mean? Like, what does it mean when you're afraid of God? Like, what does that mean exactly?
Well, the creator of the earth, that, you're not supposed to question, you don't know what's going on in your life.
Mm,
That's what I was told. And then someone said, what did you do for all this to happen? You're like, oh my God, I must be a bad person. What did I do? So I
mm,
was internalizing that along with grieving.
mm,
Okay. I was going through grief and baby blues. All this is in my book also, if you really would like to read some more of it. And that's at www.conniespearman.com. You could get the book. It's only $20, but it talks about it a little bit more. But what I felt is that I did not have no hope. We
mm,
put our hope in God. I felt like I didn't have no hope when I
mm.
was going through that period. And then with the grieving and then the baby blues and the stress, it was like I was in hopelessness. That's
Mm,
what I felt. Yes.
mm, mm,
Yeah. So if anyone is going through that, you don't know how to channel that. And at the time, in a Black family, it's taboo to seek out a psychiatrist. The one good thing that happened to me is that the school paid for my son to see a psychiatrist, but actually the psychiatrist was really working with me because I had all these things going on.
Yeah.
And after our third meeting, I said, well, you're not, why aren't you talking to my son? He would put him in a room and tell him to draw what he was feeling, but he was working on me. He said, I got to start at the head. At the
Mm,
time, my husband did not want to come. He said, I am not going to have no psychiatrist trying to figure out what I'm going through or my problems. And he told me that is one of the things that happen with a lot of males. They don't want to deal with the stress of losing a child or a loved one,
mm, mm,
especially children. And he
yeah.
said, you're going to have a hard time with this, especially trying to get him to come here. That was our first meeting. But
Mm,
I had all this stuff. And for years, I suffered with anxiety, and the anxiety turned into panic attacks disorder.
mm,
So, therefore, at the time, like I said, I went to a psychiatrist for a couple, maybe about six. We had six appointments, and it showed me how to do relaxation and stuff, but it did not help me with all the stress, anxiety, grief. It didn't happen. It didn't help me on that level. Put it
okay.
that way. Didn't help me on that level. So with years of it, what ended up happening is that it turned into panic attack disorder.
Mm,
So panic attacks disorder is very severely different from, I believe, from panic attacks. So because I wasn't dealing with it. Now,
from
today,
anxiety. It,
yes, with the
okay.
anxiety that
Okay.
turns into panic attacks disorder.
Got it.
So today, I would say for anyone that is suffering or going through this, seek a psychiatrist, seek some help. Okay, don't try to internalize and um, like try to hide it from people like I did. I hid it. In my family, no one was going through anything that I went through.
Mm,
So I was trying to be strong for my family. And as a new Christian, I was trying to be strong. I'm strong in the Lord, but you know what? I really wasn't. I was falling apart. And because I was falling apart, I was trying to hide it. I put
mm,
a mask on every day to go out and do the things, and then I get home and the with just him and me and the Lord, I would fall apart, you know.
mm,
So,
mm,
but yeah, it was years of it, and God started dealing with me with panic attacks. I got to the point where I started seeking a doctor. So the doctor put me on Buspar. I tell you, I was still having panic attacks with the Boost Par. Then
mm,
he put me on Haldol, and I was like out of body experience. It's like I didn't feel like me. I didn't feel like
mm,
myself. And so I got to the point I said, Lord, if this is the way I gotta live, just take me on home. I don't want to be
mm,
here anymore. And with depression came in also. So there
mm,
was a whole lot of things building up to that. And what I found out later is that why it turned into all these series of things is because I didn't deal with what happened, what was said to me, what happened. I
mm,
didn't deal with it. And so it just progressed into different things where I had to sit down and say, Lord, what should I do? And when I
mm,
got to that point, I said, I'm just at my wits' end. I can't live like this. Having panic attacks 3 to 4 times a night was just like severely, not
mm,
just a panic attack. I'm talking about severely, where I'm jumping up in my room, running and not knowing what I was doing to
mm,
myself. Or I'll get up and I'm just like doing a sprint in my bedroom. Actually, today I still sleep with my door locked because you never know. I never knew what was going to happen, so I sleep with my door locked. So that if I was having a panic attack, because a panic attack is like you're trying to defense something coming at you, and you're trying to rush out and you're trying to defend yourself.
mm,
So those are some of the things that I was experiencing. So I
mm,
just I say to anyone that's going through this kind of anxiety or panic attack, get help. But there was other things that you could do. I started seeking the Lord, and the Lord had to really deal with me on the things that was said to me. He told me to guard my heart with all diligence, because one of the things, people speak things when you're at your lowest point, and what was spoken to me was all wrong. You can ask God anything. He says, ask me, he will show us great and mighty things. That's in Jeremiah 33:3. He will show us great and mighty things that we don't know. But if we don't ask them, how we're going to know? So that was one thing that was said to me that was very incorrect. The other thing was, what did I do to God for him to take my child?
Mm.
And that was a very, very close person that spoke that to me.
Yeah.
So that caused me to have a fear of God, and God had to um, work with me for many years through his word, and I'm going to talk about some of his words. Um, Philippians 4:6 says that, do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God that which transcend all understanding will guard your heart and your mind. Okay, so in Christ Jesus, so I had to start really, really seeking God's word and seeking quiet time with Him, and stored he started healing me through his
Mm.
word. Just sitting in his presence every day, he started healing me. And he healed me of panic attacks, not the medication. I'm not telling people to go that way, but that's the way God took me, because
Mhm.
I did not know better. And I'm talking about, this is over 30 years ago.
Mhm.
So that was when nobody even talked about anxiety or panic attacks,
Mhm.
So that's many years ago. But now it's 300,000, over 300,000 people. I mean, million people. I'm sorry, 300 million people that is dealing with this. And it's not, there is a whole lot of people right now that is talking about it, but I don't know if they're seeking help or not.
What do you think has changed? You said so years ago, obviously 30 years, almost 30 years or over 30 years ago,
Yeah.
it was
Mhm.
such a taboo. Mental health was such a taboo. But like
Right.
now, why do you think there's been such an explosion? Why do you think that like now there's reports of like 300 million people struggling with it? What do you think is the difference?
Well, I think that society, you know, um, it's a lot of society, the woes and all the things that's going on, when I was a teenager, I remember suicide is very high among teenagers. For some
Yeah,
reason, you're going through a chemical imbalance, and
yeah,
you're growing up and you're not sure about life or what's going to happen. And
yeah,
you're so concerned about the world. And I think that's what's happening now. A lot of people's concerned. There's a wars is going on.
yeah,
There's all kind of things. Trouble is everywhere you look, and so just trying to find that peace within God, I believe that helped me,
yeah,
just that one-on-one being, spending time in the word, spending time with him. 2 Timothy 1:7 says that he has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power,
mhm,
love, and a sound mind, and that
mhm,
he wants us to have a sound mind. And so I start speaking these words, his words to us, which is spirit and life. I start speaking life over myself, along with spending time with him, and he started healing me.
yeah,
And he delivered me and healed me of panic attacks. And I not only that I had stress, anxiety, then it turned into stress, but I had a panic attack disorder. It turned into a disorder because I never dealt with it head on,
yeah,
with getting help from professionals.
yeah. You know,
Yes.
the way I see anxiety or the way what I asked for a couple years ago, I almost look at life like we are all, I'm a boat on water, right? In an
Okay.
ocean. And every current is the strong and storm is like the
Hmm.
strongholds of life. And
Right.
sometimes when things come, we let currents take us this way and this
Right.
way and this
Right.
way. And so
Right.
a couple years ago, I really asked for God to anchor me.
Hmm.
I asked for him to be my anchor so that
That's right.
even through every storm and every problem, I could just be steadfast and unmovable. And it
That's
was
good.
so hard
That's good.
to believe, because it's one thing to say it, but it's another thing to actually believe it. So I would
That's
say
correct.
in the last like 2 years,
Hmm.
literally has been my ask of God. And so
Hmm.
by the time for me, by the time the strike hit, I was like, I'm not gonna lie. Like there was one
Right.
night I had so much anxiety in my heart that
Wow.
I got up and called like a crisis hotline just to have somebody
Wow.
to talk to at 4 o'clock in the
Now,
morning. And
see,
she
most
talked to me.
people, yeah, most people wouldn't admit to something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, I did it. I did
And
it. I
that's
just wanted
good.
to
That's
talk
good.
this.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very aware of
Hmm.
myself. And so
Hmm.
I was like having so, and it's so crazy because the very next day I prayed about it and God was like, just start to release that. Like,
Hmm.
know that I am God and know that regardless of what is happening, if everything is happening for your good, and it's just like really embrace that, Tierra.
Right.
Like everything is happening for you, not to
Hmm.
you. Once
Hmm.
I was able, once I was able, Minister Connie, to really like believe that and
Right.
just take it in. Now, when things come up and storms come, I'll be like, okay, all right,
Hmm.
well, I mean, this is what's about to happen. If
Right.
things are gonna come and go, people come and go. But I used to be so scared of
Hmm.
that, like people going and coming. But that's like
Right.
a change
That's
of
good.
life. If
That's good.
you can't. That's part of life, literally. So in the last couple years, I felt like dealing with anxiety, the anxiety was like the currents and they were just
Right.
throwing me around. And I said, God, I'm
Yes.
so tired of every time. And it also, to me, it also signified to me that I wasn't mature as a Christian. Like I wasn't mature in my walk. Because I guess what I think is every time something happens, if you're like, oh my God, God, God,
Right.
like
Right.
you're
Right.
all over the place, it
Right.
just means that I'm like, man, like that says
Right.
your faith is on low, super
Right.
low, you know?
Right.
And
Hmm.
so that's been my ask. I would say I start asking God during the pandemic. And I
Hmm.
really like 2021 is when I was like, okay, when I was sitting, I said, God, I just want to have like unshakable, crazy faith, right?
Amen. That's
And
good.
I wanted that, but
Right.
it's auntie, it's like you can say one thing, but it might not come to you for years
It
after
might.
that.
It
Like
might
it's
not
not
come.
like
Right.
that was frustrating too. Like
Right.
things not happening right away. It's like you say, okay, I believe God, it's supposed to happen right away. It
And
didn't happen
it
right away. So
doesn't.
I felt like it's
Yeah.
not working. I'm not, so it just takes time, right?
It does take time. And the thing is, that's why I said I spoke the word of God over me every day.
Mm-hmm.
Spending that time,
Mm-hmm.
and just talking to him and praying, and talking to him and just taking the scriptures and just applying it. So a lot of times we hear the word, and faith comes by hearing and
Yeah.
hearing the word of God.
Yeah.
So I was I was like, I need to take the word and really apply it.
Yeah.
And that is not easy to do. It's
No,
very, very hard to do. But the thing is that we walk by faith and not by sight.
that's right.
So therefore, it's a faith walk in the dark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was very good that you said this. You was like, I got to the point and nobody could help you but God, right?
That's it.
That
That's
was
it.
it. So when we get to our wits end and we get to that very, very string that we feel like we're going to lose it or, lose all hope, God just like, okay, he'll speak to you and say,
Mm-hmm.
look, this is what you need to do. And like
Yeah.
I said, it was God for me and him for many years healing me of what people said to me.
Yeah.
Now, when somebody says something to me, I'll say, I don't receive that. And I
Yeah.
take it out the air and I put it under my feet because, therefore, that means that that word will not create anything in me that's going to cause me fear. You know,
Amen.
I
Mm-hmm.
love, I'm going to give a couple of scriptures. Psalms 34:4 says, I sought the Lord, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears.
Mm,
Because we all have fears, you know,
mhm,
we don't know what might come up. My fear was that I have a God that I love and that I'm serving, but I was told not to, question him about
mhm,
anything. And what did I do to him for him to cause all this anguish in my life? I was
mhm,
like, oh my God. So I felt like there was no hope, which caused me to end up being depressed also.
mm.
So watch with your heart of what people says to you, because people are very mean,
They
and
are.
they don't mean to be. It's just that I think out of ignorance that they do things like that.
Or it's inside of them, right? Somebody
Right,
has put something in them and they're just like, well, you can't do that, or you're not that, or you're not,
right.
they're just projecting
When
their limited,
yes,
they're
yes,
projecting their limited opinions and views of what they can't do. It's like I
exactly.
can't do it. So in turn, Connie, you
You
can't do
can't
it.
do it.
You can't
Right.
do it. You can't do
That's
that.
right. You
Yeah.
can't do that. I hear that a lot. Um, one thing I have learned over the years is that when I started businesses, I wouldn't tell nobody anything. I just came out and there, boom, here I am. You
Mm,
know, and the reason why is people will talk you out of stuff.
they sure will.
And you have to be very careful who you talk to about anything.
Mhm.
Get with people that are cheerleaders saying, oh, well, go for it, girl. I'm so happy to hear you. I'm going to do that. I'm going to pray for you.
Yeah.
I'm going to pray and help you succeed. And that's the kind of person I am. I like to see people exceed. I want to see people grow in
Mhm.
what God has given them. So, therefore, I am a big cheerleader and try to be a supporter in people that are going after their dreams,
Yeah.
because everyone has a dream. Everyone has a dream, but there's a song, or someone said to me, I can't remember, but they said the wealthiest place, I believe it was Miles Monroe,
Yep.
the wealthiest place in the world is the graveyard,
That's
because a
right.
lot of people have taken their dreams and let them die,
Yep.
and they never, great books, great songs, great inventions, all kind of things,
Yeah.
because they never pursued it. So
Yeah.
don't let no one take that from you, because that's a God-given gift. God
Yeah.
said he give us gifts without repentance. That means he given us all these things. So we're supposed to grow and
Yeah.
explore. I tell the Lord all the time, Lord, let me die empty. I want to do
Empty.
everything.
That's
And
right.
I'm always doing something. I want to be creative, all creating and being creative all the time.
Yep.
So I don't want to leave this world without doing all the things that I have in my heart. And I believe that, and you may too. You might feel this way. Do you feel sometimes that all these things in your heart, God put them there?
Absolutely.
Yes,
I was just
absolutely.
having a conversation with a really good friend of mine, and he put some things in perspective for me that was like, because sometimes people will be like, you're a businesswoman, or in our minds, we'll say,
Hmm.
you're a businesswoman. So that means that you can't create books and
Right,
candles and
right.
you can't create all of the things that God put into you because you are supposed to be seen a certain way, or you have to brand yourself
Hmm.
a certain way,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
But like, truthfully, I think that like I've learned to kind of take the word career off me and
Right.
just like allow myself to experience every couple years something different. I'll
Something
go and
different,
train.
something new.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll go and train and learn how to do a thing. Like right now, I'm in music school. I went to music school and I was like, I'm gonna write
Good.
an album.
Right.
Before that, I went and I had to learn how to write a screenplay because I sold it to Universal, and I worked with all of these powerful Hollywood people, and so I
Hmm.
just had to like learn. And I'm running a business, and so it's like I'm thankful that I'm allowed to some days be like, I want to take off this hat and I want to wear this hat. I want to be a
Yes,
content creator
exactly.
today.
It's
You know what I mean?
exciting.
It's
Yes,
exciting, right?
it
Like
is.
there's
It is.
freedom. And
Right.
then you get to do the things that God, you
Right.
get to put and serve in the way that God intended. And nobody should feel like, oh, but God just gave me this one gift. It's like, no, he gave
No,
you,
he gave you many gifts.
yeah, like he filled you up with
Yes.
potential.
Yes. I have a question for you.
Hmm.
During the time of you putting on different hats, did you ever feel anxiety or stress behind it?
Mm, not with putting on, naturally I've always been creative, and the blessing and what I'm so grateful to God for is that I've always kind of been like fearless in a sense where it's just
Mhm.
like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I'm gonna hop up and go. I don't know
Right.
if it's just part of my personality, right? When I went the furthest away from everybody during college, I was the one that was like, I'm gonna move to California. I don't know one
Mhm.
person and I have
Mhm.
$200, like, and then I got here and it was like God didn't just send anybody.
Right.
I went to an
Right.
event and Angela
Right.
Bassett was like, "You should stay in LA." I was like,
Right.
and if you know me, I watched What's Love Got to Do with It when I was 13. It was like, I don't know, but I love her and I love what she does. I want to do what
Right.
she's doing, right? So it's
Right.
just so funny that I got on the ground here in LA, and I was like the first person, one of the first people I met
Oh, wow.
was
That's
Angela
wonderful.
Bassett. You know
Yes.
what I mean? And she
Yes.
was like, "No." I was like, "Oh, for God's sake," because clearly he's saying, because
Right.
clearly he's telling me that I should be here because you're here, and he
Right.
knows what you mean to me in terms.
Right.
I just felt like that was the ultimate sign. So I don't feel anxiety because I've kind of always felt like I'm just a powerful person and
Mhm.
a powerful manifester.
Right.
Like there's so
Right.
many things. Like I never feel like, the scariest part sometimes, to be honest, is like me creating something and being okay. For instance, right now, right, in the middle of like performing and about to release music and all of that,
Mhm.
my biggest fear on this side is like, once I release it, am I ready for the influx of
Okay.
opportunity that comes
That's
in
what,
with that?
yes,
You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
can
Yes.
I handle the goodness that God is going to send?
Right.
If he told me that he
Exactly.
wanted me to sing songs since I was 7, since I
Right.
was on Hazelwood Avenue, right?
Right.
What does that mean? Like, that's almost scary to that I've
Right.
come this right now to this moment, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this out, but what is this gonna mean? And like,
Exactly.
I didn't
Exactly.
say this, but it was so funny that I've been like, so some of me wants to be perfect, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna start performing next year. Not I was
Yes.
last year I was
Right.
saying I was gonna
Right.
start performing
Right.
this year,
Exactly.
and God always sends people. Like my neighbor was like listening to me through the walls and
Mhm.
came and knocked on the door and was like, "Hey, do you want to perform?" And I thought that was God. And that's what I mean by being
Right.
afraid of like
Right.
what
Right.
God, like what does that mean if I'm just in the
Right.
privacy of my own room working on
Mhm.
songs and somebody knocks on my door like, "I heard you through the
Wow.
walls. You sound great. Like, you want to
Yeah.
come and perform here?" Like
Right.
I thought, I'm scared of that. Like a
Right.
little bit. Like, can I live up to it? There's a part of me that's like, can you live up to it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about, how stresses come in. So
Mm,
you know what? I'm going to be truthful and transparent also.
yeah.
When I used to get speaking engagements, I would get so much stress and anxiety would build up in me, and it still happens.
Mhm.
But you gotta walk through your fears and your
Mhm.
stress and all
Mhm.
those things that happen. So, but some people get to the point where they never do it because of stress.
Or they're with their mindset.
You'll hear people say, I was afraid. I
I
was
was afraid.
afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Just, do it. Go through, walk it through. That's what I say. And that's
Yeah.
what happened with me. I walked it through with God for my healing, and He delivered me from panic attacks disorder. I
Yeah.
walked it through. I did not know when He said to come into His presence every day and just sit. I
Mhm.
didn't know that I was being obedient and did not know how the outcome of that was going to be. But
Yeah.
the outcome is that I was obedient. He said obedience is better than sacrifice. And so I was
That's right.
obedient, and He healed me in the midst of that. And I thank God for that. So therefore we do get stress, and sometimes stress stops us from being the successful person that we need to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's just your mind saying negative things. Like,
Right, right.
I always remind my daughter that thoughts are like, we always talk about a thought highway, right? I always think
Mm-hmm.
of thoughts like a highway, and every
Oh,
car
okay.
represents a different thought. And that's like,
Mm-hmm.
you could run, you can't run after every time a thought passes, you can't run after the car. And
Right.
I tell her sometimes we run after cars and then we get in the car and then we let it take us all the way to Halifax, Nova Scotia, when really we
Uh-huh.
should have just got out the car. So
Uh-huh.
anytime she has negative thoughts, I say, Lauren, get out the car. Get out the car.
Um,
It's a
okay.
negative thought. That's it.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it. Like, you don't have to
Mm-hmm.
let it take you all the way and
Right,
kidnap
right.
you and then steal
Exactly.
you and then you never come back. Like, you're always
Exactly.
in the car with this thought. And so if we can just learn to get out the car, you
Okay,
know,
that's a good analogy. That's
thank
very
you.
good. I
I
like
mean,
that. I'm gonna give another
yeah,
scripture. It says,
yeah,
"When I'm afraid, I put my trust in you," and
yeah.
that's Psalms 56:3. And that's what I just told the Lord just recently last week. I've been, I'm on and off on journaling,
Mhm.
and so I told the Lord last week, Lord, I'm going to trust you in every area of my life,
That's right.
every area, my
Yep,
finance, my business, my health,
yep.
my children, my grandchildren. I just went on down the line. Lord, I'm going to trust you. I don't know how things is going to work out, but I'm going to trust you.
Yeah.
And so for a couple things happen since I said that, because the word's going to try you. What you say is going to try you.
Man,
So a
yes.
couple things happen, and the first thing I was starting to be concerned. I don't say stressed or anxiety. I say concerned. I
Mhm.
got concerned and I said, no. I said, Lord, I said, I'm going to trust you in this matter. And
Mhm.
so, therefore, I don't know, but I'm going to walk this out and continue to trust you.
Mhm.
And so that was where I'm putting my anchor, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
I'm putting my anchor down and
Yeah.
I'm just going to trust him. Um, why I am going through this journey right now.
It just feels
Exactly.
better. It just feels better. It feels better and it feels, you could really take the stress off your mind and your heart and your body, and always having to have the answer is stressful. It's like, where is this going to come from? Let me figure it out. And then you burn yourself to death running around trying to make something happen, when really we can just release it and just say,
Release it.
man,
Yes.
you can take that.
Yes.
I'm gonna do the work. I can't lay in the bed
Mhm.
all day and
Mhm.
expect for you to bless. Or
Mhm.
maybe, I can't do that, but I definitely can just surrender.
Exactly.
Surrender.
First Peter 5:7 says to cast your cares
Yeah.
upon the Lord because he cares for you. When we get to that point where we could just cast it, just throw it, cast
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And knowing that he cares for you, I think it will we will not have as many concerns or stresses or anxiety or anything else about what's going on in our life, because we are in partnership with him and he cares for us. So we should cast our cares upon him.
Yeah.
And remember what I said before, he wants us to have a sound mind.
Yeah.
We can't have a sound mind if we're stressed out.
That's
We
right.
can't have a sound mind if we're worried or just overwhelmed with things of life. We can't. So
Hmm.
therefore, we have to, press in. I say press in daily, press in into the presence of God in his word.
Yeah. You know what really has changed my life? I was working with Les Brown a couple years ago, and if you don't know who Les Brown is,
You know who
he
Les
is
Brown is.
the number one motivational speaker in the
Yes,
world.
definitely.
One of the things that Les told me to do was, he said, "What I want you to do, Tiara, for 6 months is to just listen to things that are good for you. They could be
Exactly. That's good.
motivation.
That's
You can
good.
listen to me. You can listen to
Right.
sermons. You
Right.
can listen to
Right.
gospel. You can listen to motivational speaking, whatever
Right.
it is. But just don't listen to anything that will interrupt your spirit. And
Right.
I did that for 6 months, right?
Right.
But ever since then, and I met and worked with Les Brown in 2014 and then in 2015, those 2 years. And in 15, his cancer had returned, so we had to
Oh, I
he had to
didn't know
focus
that
on
he
those
had
things. But
cancer.
I mean,
Okay.
I don't know anybody that's like literally beat cancer for 30 years in a row. So he's amazing.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, he's
That's God.
amazing.
That's God.
Oh, that's God all day. I
That's
mean, you
God
would have
all
to
day.
know all
Yes.
day.
Yes.
But when he did that, when he said that in 15, ever since 15, I find it really hard to just sit and listen to negative things. I find
Right.
it's so difficult to watch the news for very long periods of
Right.
time. It's
It is.
difficult
It
for me to
is.
sit around
Yes.
gossip. It's
Right.
difficult for me to, it's just like those settings don't work for my spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
what I would say, that changed my life. But then I also, like, in 2020, 2021, when I told you I wanted Crazy Faith, I started to tune that a little bit and not just listen to like motivational things. I started listening to sermons all
Amen.
day,
Yeah.
all day
Good.
long,
Good.
sermons and like gospel music. And
Mm-hmm.
to this day, my daughter, she be like, we just gonna listen to Kirk Franklin and Fred Hammond all day long.
That's right. That's
But
right.
I don't, we don't, I just, it's just so natural for me to wake up and have like this long, I feel like I could probably worship God in a way like almost all day long. And I probably do.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yes.
talk to him all day.
Right.
Like, I'm listening to good things all day. I'm
Right.
listening to sermons all day. It's just
Right.
really intensified my hunger to know God on a really, on a real, in a real way. And
Mm-hmm.
so I would encourage anybody who you talked about earlier about how you were able to hear God and really him to change you and you spending that time. What I've
Mm-hmm.
learned is me taking the first 2 hours of the day and just worshiping God and listening
Mm-hmm.
to things
Mm-hmm.
that are good and watching a
Mm-hmm.
sermon and
Mm-hmm.
just getting like, just
Right.
always kind of being in his presence in one way or another has completely changed my life and my
That's
walk
good.
and my
That's good.
spirit.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like, your spirit is
Mm-hmm.
just different. It's just like,
Yeah.
you're
Exactly.
just not the same person, right? And
Exactly.
there was days
Yes.
I would
Yes.
get up and listen to Lil Wayne, and I'm pretty sure I was still a great person, but like, it changes your temperament. Like listening to rap music when you wake up in the morning, or just
Right.
you thinking, oh, it's just to get me going, right? It's just to hype me up. But you're listening to all this demonic music that's really just
Right.
like in your soul, and you have no idea.
Right.
So when you feel lust, or you feel rage, or you feel anger, and it comes quicker, it's because
Right.
of the things that
Of what you're feeding yourself.
you're feeding yourself unintentionally. Because
Exactly.
in theory,
Exactly.
there's nothing wrong with listening to rap music, but at some point, like I was saying, you just, you might be a little quick to anger and slap somebody, and
Yeah.
so I just or whatever. But I'm just saying that to say is that it's
Yes.
really changed me.
Exactly,
Mhm.
exactly. And that's what he does. When we are spending time in his word, it really changes you, because what you're doing, he's it's spirit to spirit, he's changing your heart and your
Yeah,
desires for the
yeah,
things of him.
yeah,
So I'm going to give another scripture. Isaiah 41:10 says, um, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God.
mm,
I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. When God says he's going to help you, believe he's going to help you. He will
yeah,
help you with anything. If you're stressed out, if you're worried, if you have panic attacks, you can rely on him to help you. He says, just call out and he will help you with his righteous right hand. So
mm,
those words there, all the scriptures that I just quoted, it just, even quoting them, make me feel better,
yeah,
make me feel stronger. My spirit man is being strengthened encourage.
Yeah.
When we lose hope and we feel like all hope is gone, you put your hope in the Lord. And I like that you said that your anchor, and we have to have an anchor. Our
Yeah.
anchor should be in the Lord. When we anchor, we're anchoring in on whatever. And when you're anchored in like a boat, when you
Yeah.
put that anchor down, it might sway, but it doesn't move,
It
right?
doesn't move. Yeah.
It doesn't go off into the Atlantic. I walk the Atlantic Ocean every day,
Mm-hmm.
while I'm on the other side of it. I'm not like the Atlantic Ocean, but
Right.
I'm part of it
Right.
where I walk. But you know, um, it will just drift off into the water. But
Mm.
now, when you put that anchor down, you're just having more solid foundation,
Yeah.
and you have to build a solid foundation, I believe, in the Lord. And when you start building that solid foundation, you don't move. You might sway a little bit, but you don't move.
Yeah.
On that solid rock I stand.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's so hard to be young and live um, in this culture that is influencing women to be promiscuous and to
Yes.
be um, bitter and
Yes. Yes. Definitely.
sexual
Hmm.
and I mean and insecure. Change your breasts, change your butt, you're not enough. It's like it's all the things, Auntie.
Right.
It's like
It
all the
is.
things. And so sometimes it's hard to be that. I can only imagine what it'll be for my daughter, which is why I pray for her every day. But like
Amen.
even as a
Good.
woman, as a woman, I'm like looking around. It's just very hard, to it's hard. It's
Right.
hard, and
Definitely.
so not to be influenced by those things, not to look up and be like, well, does that mean I'm enough, or am
Right.
I enough for this, or will I meet a partner that doesn't
Right.
that won't lead me into um hell, like that won't lead
Exactly.
me off a cliff that it's just a very different place. And so I just would have to be anchored. I gotta be anchored because
Yes.
otherwise I can
Yes.
there's a there I heard a girl talk the other day, and I know we have to wrap up because you have
Yes.
another show.
Yes.
But I heard a girl talk about having borderline disorder.
Oh,
And if you know
wow.
what that is, it means that the person has no real frame or personality of their own.
Oh, okay.
They could be like persuaded. They don't have a strong sense of self. So they
Oh,
could be
okay.
like taken
Everywhere.
anywhere. And
Yeah.
so she was like, and she had like experienced all these things. Like she had got into like drug use and
Mhm.
and porn and she was like, I was already kind of like attracted to dark things, but
Uh-huh.
because I don't have, and I didn't know, she was like, I didn't know this at the time, but like I don't have a strong sense of self. Like if I meet certain people, I can just go along with them. I can
Wow.
just, you know what I'm saying? That's a scary way to live. Can you imagine? When I think of that, I think of that might be the way if you are not anchored in God, you're kind of like that. Like
Right.
you don't have a disorder,
Right.
a
Right.
borderline disorder, but you kind of like can be swayed by the world. You can
Right.
be and go wherever trends are going because
Right.
you don't have a strong sense of self. You don't have God. And so
Right.
it's just good to have God.
Right.
That's my last
It
thought on
is.
that.
Yes, it is good to have God. Also, just remember that, when we put our trust in Him, He said that in all of our ways, do not lean on our own understanding, but in all of our ways, we are supposed to lean on Him and
Mm,
His understanding because He knows what's best for us. Also, I found that journaling is good. I do have a journal that's on my website. If you go
mm,
to www.conniespearman.com, you will find that journal, and it kind of like identifies your moods for that day. So that's a good way. I want to talk about exercise. Go walking, get someone to talk to. There's other things that you could do to help with your anxiety and any kind of panic attacks. But we're going to wrap this up. I
Well,
want
wait, before you
everyone.
do that, but
Okay.
make sure you tell everyone about your book,
Yes, yes,
you
yes,
know,
yes.
and yeah,
My yes, definitely. Thank you for that. My
yeah,
book is called Lord, I Hear You. You could get it at www.conniespearman.com, and it's only $20.
it's
Get
life
the book
changing.
and read it. You will love it. It's a
Yeah.
short read. It's not hard, and it just talks about the panic disorder. It talks about a whole lot of other things which we are going to be sharing on our broadcast. So, therefore, I want everyone to go on there, and there's other things we had talked about, things that we had created and everything.
Mhm.
So, therefore, we're going to wrap this up. I enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Please share, and the
Subscribe,
next
like.
we're hoping to have someone to come on that we can have a conversation with that is dealing with stress or a panic attack disorder. So please come. Um, Share, join, actually join on us on Facebook. We're on Twitter. What else? My co-host, she
We're on
does
Twitter.
all
We're on
the
Twitter. Like, right. So obviously we're on
yes,
Twitter. We're on Instagram. We are on Facebook. We are on
yes,
YouTube. Make sure
yes,
you join, you like and subscribe. First of
yes,
all, when you like and subscribe, you'll get a notification of when we go
yes,
live.
yes,
Make sure that you tune in. We're here every Tuesday and Thursday. And this
yes,
is my part of the job, right? So, don't worry. I got you. And make sure that you, again, go to www.conniespearman.com
yes.
for merchandise. And what I will say, having read Lord, I Hear You, you really get an idea of how to hear from God and like what those methods look like. Because sometimes God's never going to come down and be like, I'm telling you what to do.
Yes.
So there is there's a way that God communicates with his
Mhm.
people when he's trying to get your attention. And
Right.
so sometimes it's great to listen while there's a whisper instead of while he's yelling. And when he's yelling, it looks like, oh, you have cancer. When he's whispering, it might be like, go get checked. When
Right.
he's whispering,
Exactly.
oh, your leg hurt.
Yes.
So it's just like
Yes.
your leg hurts. Why does your leg hurt? Go to the hospital instead of like you wait and you're like, no, 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 I got it. And then 2 years later, your leg needs to be amputated. So
Mm.
I would say that was my biggest blessing from reading the book. So you should
Oh,
definitely.
thank you. Yes, yes. I'm getting a whole lot of great feedback about the book. So definitely get the book, get the journal so you can journal every day. It has like different kind of moods that you may be experiencing that day, and just and then there's a part on there in the journal where you can hear from God. What is God saying to you? God is always speaking, but are we listening? So
Yes.
therefore, I thank you for joining us on the segment of Hear and Heal, and we will see you next week. Have a
Bye.
blessed and glorious day.
Bye,
Bye
everyone.
bye.